Welcome to Real Estate U with Lettiann.
I'm here with Johnny Youseff. Johnny, thank you so much for being here today with us.
Thank you.
You bet. I just want to introduce you. So Johnny is a real estate investor. He also likes to renovate, and he's a designer as well. And Johnny also is a licensed real estate professional here in the Kansas City area. We have a lot of commonalities, and that includes we both own Airbnbs. We've had some challenges and trials and tribulations, but to be completely transparent, I'm just meeting Johnny. I just met him 5 minutes ago right here on Skype because he is actually out of the state visiting family. So thank you for your time and being here.
Thank you. I'm excited. It's going to be good.
So you told me you just hung up the phone. Actually, it wasn't the phone, but it was a virtual meeting with the Kansas City City Council because you had requested a variance on your Airbnb. There is a limit of 8 guests maximum per dwelling. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how.
Yeah, I literally just got off a city hearing like 3 minutes ago. Or 10 minutes ago, but basically, Airbnb is a new thing. I mean, relatively speaking, it's been a couple of years since I think Kansas City came up with the ordinance in 2018, and it took them a long time to come up with the ordinance. But part of the ordinance is you can't have more than 2 guests per bedroom in a house, and then so you can't really have 2 queens with 4 people. Even though hotels have it, you can't do that, more than 2 guests per bedroom. But then you also can't have more than 8 guests, no matter how big the house is. So it's a little tricky because I have a 7-bedroom house, and I had it as an Airbnb for large amount of guests before the ordinance came in place, and then the ordinance came in place, and I thought I'm doing the right thing, applying and kind of going and saying, hey, I want to be transparent. I'm asking for special permission, basically, to be able to have 16 guests based on the size of it, based on it being grandfathered in before the ordinance was in place, but that just hit me pretty hard. It's kind of sad because I looked in Kansas City and just around my house, there's 135 properties that have that break that rule of 8 guests, and none of them applied for permits. They just kind of do it anyway. And here I am just trying to be friends with the city, be upfront. But basically, I went to the city hearing, and there are a couple of neighbors. They're not really neighbors because they live over a mile away, but they're very involved. They hate investors. They hate Airbnbs. They hate renters. They just want families moving into the neighborhood. So they went pretty strong on me. And one of them, their spokesperson, is an attorney. So she knows how to frame words in ways that I'm like, how did you just do that? Like, for example, in the neighborhood meeting where I told them, hey, guys, basically I had to do a neighborhood meeting where I say, hey, just to let you know, I'm having permission to get 16 guests. Here's my number. And then the neighbors mentioned that they've had problems before with noise. And I said, I'm so sorry, I wasn't aware. Here's my numbers. If you guys ever have a problem, call me immediately. And today, just that attorney just used that against me. She's like, and he's giving us his number because he told us that he expects us to police it for him. And then this is his number to report any issues. And I'm like, no, that's not what I was going with. I was saying, I'm a good neighbor and I want you guys to have me communicate with me if there are any issues, but instead they framed it as this guy like doesn't care, and he just gave us his number and told us if we can't do it, he will do it. So I basically just got roasted for the last 30 minutes by neighbors, and then I have to decide what I'm going to do. But it's okay, you win some, you lose some. But here you go.
Well, it's a hot market. You could always sell the property.
It is, yeah.
It's kind of sad though. You got brutalized by, kind of ganged up on, and all you're trying to do is the right thing, because I know of a couple of huge houses in Johnson County that are being rented as Airbnbs. They have like an indoor basketball court. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think someone took their whole baseball team like for a trip there, something to that effect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a perfect house. It's like a small resort.
Yeah.
But it's what other obstacles? And we're going to talk about the benefits too, because one, you are permitted to have an Airbnb. There are rules and regs.
Yes.
does all of Kansas City govern the metro, or do you find that in Kansas it's different than that KC Mill?
Yeah, the city of Kansas City has their own rules that are different. Each city is kind of with their own rules. So whether you're in Waldo or downtown or Plaza, it's all the same thing. So the rule of thumb is not more than 2 per bedrooms and not more than 8. There are different rules. You also have to, I don't know how familiar you are, but you have to get at least 55% of the adjacent neighbors to sign off approving it. So I had to knock on doors of all the adjacent neighbors. I got more than the 55%. Sadly, it was just clear how the ordinance have good intentions, but really bad execution, because like one of the neighbors I knocked on, he was super racist. I'm not going to say what he said, but basically he was like, if you can promise me this and that or not in my neighborhood, then I will sign it. I will never promise that. So, and then I had a neighbor, where elderly couple and the wife just died. So I knock on the guy and he signs supporting it. But then I had to prove to like the city that the wife just died, and it's like, oh my gosh, why do I have to do this? So there are ordinance. I mean, they're there for a reason. But I definitely think we need to kind of revisit and adjust as things are evolving. So
maybe we should start a board of our own, right? So when you're on these calls, like I got your back.
Oh, I'm already I should have thought of that, but we have a little group email. So I'll include you just so that, because we're trying to have a group of us owners that do follow the rules, that are saying, hey guys, we need to really revisit some of that. Some of it is just makes it impossible or is not fair. I mean, it's not fair if you just happen to have neighbors that don't care versus having a racist neighbor or a neighbor that will never sign no matter how good or responsible you are, because there's no incentive for them. So it's tricky. But all that to say, though, if we talk about the Airbnbs, I don't want to discourage the listeners, because it can be very profitable. It can be very, very fun. And like, for me, I love hospitality, very satisfying, fulfilling. So we don't want to discourage people. And it all depends, on where they are and all that too.
And doing it for the right reasons. You have the option of renting a room, or you have the option of investing in a property. And really, because I know, number one, for my guests, I too have an Airbnb. I'm looking at the microphone like it's a camera. I too have an Airbnb, and cleanliness, number one, for the guests. So, and it's hard to find someone who is honest, trustworthy, and can clean better than anybody Like, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, there's some things you must consider. You can't just go, oh, well, I think I'll rent my room, but I hope they don't mind if I don't change the sheets. And I mean, you really have to, pretend like you're a little mini resort of your own. And how would you want the place to be when you checked in? There's a psycho neighbor across the street from my, although she may be listening, but I'm not sure she's playing with a full deck. I just had guests leave for the second time this year because she has been harassing them. So, and again, I don't want to go negative on, I get it. Everybody's motivations are different, but she'll take pictures of their license plate. This is how, I don't even know where she's coming from. She'll take pictures of their license plate if they park on the street. And we only have a 2-bedroom, and I never allow more than 3 to 4 persons. And the 4th person has to be like a child, because there's only 2 beds. I mean, it's a small house, like 900 square feet. So she'll take pictures of their license plate, call the police, and say that there's an abandoned vehicle. I mean, just all these awful things.
Gosh.
She just stood in the street, gave them the double finger, and screamed the F word at them. Like, she's there.
Because she doesn't want strangers in the neighborhood.
But I mean, she's acting like it. I mean, I know she doesn't want strangers in the neighborhood, but I mean, the energy she's expending.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's the sad part, is like, people just are willing to go through so much hostility because they don't want a stranger. I mean, it's sad.
And there's ways to, keep it up, right? So we have a, lovely small 1940s house, very, like I said, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, but we don't keep it at like $50 a night. We make sure it's really in good order, charge more, so you're not getting the riffraff that's going to go party it up. And
Exactly.
I kind of police the people. I ask them questions like, why are you in town? Where are you coming from? Often, as when I go into Airbnbs, the owner will knock on the door and hand me some cookies. And they're just wanting to see, how many people are in there or what's going on. So there's a way to do it. And I appreciate you including me in on your Airbnb thing. But the positives, like you said, the hospitality part is incredible. And the fact that they just came to celebrate their mom's 90th birthday, and they live in Texas, and they could bring their dog. I mean, I've gotten some beautiful notes. Probably 98% of the time, I've just gotten big thank yous and what a cool house. And they really appreciate it, how everything was in order. So I think it's heartwarming. Except for the neighbor across the street. So, what else? Let's start telling people more about if they want to invest. What do you suggest? Because I know you're an investor. You've got several properties.
Yes. You mean in general or just with Airbnb specifically?
Well, let's dial it in to the fact that supply and demand. We are so low on supply. What are your thoughts on actually purchasing and finding something at this time in the market?
For Airbnb.
Let's say Airbnb, you bet. For an investment property, to rent.
Totally. I mean, right now is a tricky time with COVID-19. So I don't know about if you've seen a hit with your Airbnb. We've definitely seen a hit. We've had a lot of people canceling our booking. We've had over $56,000 in cancellation in 2 months. So that's a lot of revenue that got cut. Will it last forever? No. I think once this whole thing is over, Airbnb is going to be stronger than ever because right now it's kind of, it's survival to the fit, so a lot of people that didn't manage their Airbnbs right, didn't have many backup plans. They were kind of living paycheck by paycheck. They couldn't stay in the Airbnb game. So actually, a lot of people are leaving Airbnb right now, which actually prepares us for great demand. I think obviously no one knows how long this is going to take, but hoping that by spring next year, summer next year, 2021, I think we're going to see millions of people wanting to go on vacation, wanting to go to Airbnbs, wanting to gather, all the people that couldn't travel this year, wanting to do something even bigger next year. We're going to see so much demand on Airbnbs, assuming everything with COVID is over or controlled. And with that being said, given that we now have less properties on the market because a lot of people have left the game I've had an investor that I was managing 7 Airbnbs for, and they turned them all into long-term rentals because of COVID. They just said, we don't want to wait it out. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want the risk of having someone with coronavirus in our property. Let's just turn them all into long-term. We'll take our losses. So with that being said, I truly think that we are about to have a lot of demand coming up, maybe not in 2 months, but maybe in 6-7 months with little supply, which means, needing more Airbnbs and raising the rates because people are willing to pay it. So I think it's still a great investment. I think my advice is, I always tell people have plan B, and that's what I learned the hard way. Plan B would be if Airbnb doesn't do well, if ordinance change, if a neighbor, that is so hostile happens to be an attorney that's connected with city council, whatever it is, you want to have a plan B, plan C. So I tell people, look for an Airbnb and just plan if I can't run this for too long, or if I do it and I just hate it or whatever, can I turn it into a rental and would it be successful and worth its money? Or would I be upside down and regret it? Is this area going up in value where I can maybe flip it or sell it in 2 or 3 years, if I'm tired of the Airbnb game or if it's just not good. So if you have a plan B and plan C, then I say go for it, look for Airbnbs. It's definitely, I say it's not worth it if it's not making at least 2 times the rental rate. So if your net in a property is $1,000, you don't want to get into the Airbnb game unless it's making you $2,000, because the amount of time and energy and logistics it takes, you don't want to be working so hard from $1,000 to $1,500, free that time for a second property purchase. So I'd say if it makes 2 times more, if the area is going up, if it would still make a decent rental, then it's worth it.
A lot of folks that are moving out of state and they have, they know I have an Airbnb, and they'll say, you know what? I think I'm just, instead of selling my house, I think I'm just going to turn it into an Airbnb. Has anyone asked you that?
I've had a couple of clients, actually. I've had a couple of clients that were looking to buy a house, and when they found out that they are qualified without having to sell their original house, they decided to try Airbnb. One of them ended long-term rental, and the other one is running an Airbnb in Westport. Yeah.
That's great. What I explained to them is, if you're an out-of-state owner, you really need to have a really great system here, because you have to have someone that can be called at midnight when, the air conditioning isn't working or the furnace isn't working. So for you, Johnny, do you have a property management company that's managing your units?
I do. Yeah. Okay. I think that's the biggest, that's the biggest problem I see people are not prepared for, is people are really optimistic. They think Airbnb and they think passive income. And in reality, it's semi-passive income. It's not really that passive. So I tell people, you really have to have the right people in place. That's the make it or break it. If you have bad cleaners or bad communicator, your Airbnb is going to get bad reviews, and you can might as well just shut it down quickly. So I do have a property management company that's actually managing my rentals, and it's managing my Airbnb. So we have a pretty good team working with us.
So is that your own company that manages?
It is.
So good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, I kept it in-house, and it's a lot of work, but sometimes I wonder if it's just better to just hand it over. But no one is going to care about your properties as much as you do. Not to say I don't encourage property management companies. Like, you should find a good property manager, do your research, and you'll find great options. But just with the amount of properties I had, and me being a little bit more of a control freak, I was like, I'll do it myself. So, yeah.
So are you available for hire if someone says, well, maybe I'll get Johnny's company to help me if I purchase something?
Yeah, I'm selectively available. So I only work with few investors. So just like you with, your company, your realty, your brokerage, your quality over quantity, we've had a lot of, I've had a lot of people saying, hey, I have a house here and I live in Florida. Can you rent it for us? And we don't do that, but I'll do it if someone is like, hey, I am planning to grow, or I have 10 properties. If they have like a quantity that's worth, because I want to keep few owners that I work with that have quantity, so that we can keep systems in place and quality control, rather than so many owners and houses all over the place. And every owner has different standards. You have owners that don't care about making that much profit. They just want the properties to be really well upkept and the value to continue going up. You have another owners, which we call them some landlords, that they don't care how trash or how bad the house is. They just want to make as much cash every month. So that's why I just try to focus for like few quality owners. We're all on the same page and we have the same system in place. So actually, I'm looking for 2 or 3 now. We've grown and we need a little bit more. So let me know.
I love it. I love that. So I'm talking with Johnny Youseff today, investor, renovator, and designer. And
designer?
Well, I've got that right here in your bio. You're a designer.
I am. I'm still embracing it because I kind of stumbled on it, but I've been doing it for a while now.
So tell me, what do you design?
I mean, just my rehabs. I get really involved everywhere from wood floors and cabinet selection and paint, all the way into Airbnbs. Like, I picked all the furniture, all the layouts. My house, I recently did my house, which looks pretty awesome. I'm proud of it, but I completely moved everything around, the staircase. So everything from like hard design, whether we're talking about staircases or ceilings, to like, furniture and, paint color. So I've done it all.
Wow. Look at all your talents. So if you're enjoying our conversation with Johnny Youseff, and if you have questions about Airbnb, whether in the Kansas City metropolitan area or anywhere where you may live, please don't hesitate to reach out to Johnny or myself. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Lettiann and Associates Real Estate Services, so you don't miss any of this awesome content, value-based content that we're doing for you. And Johnny, when you get back from Virginia, let's connect in person.
I'd love that.
Awesome. And I hope you can come back for another episode.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
See you soon. Thank you, Johnny.